what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to walk through two questions that we would have done in class, but I felt we would have been rushed. So I'm just going to take a minute or two and go through these. The first one, an aging of accounts receivable. So we have a schedule that indicates the amount of uncollectible accounts is $3,210. So that $3,210 is what we want the balance to be. That's our best estimate of what that balance of the contra asset allowance for uncollectible accounts should be. However, the allowance for uncollectible accounts balance prior to adjustment has a credit balance of $2,000. Remember, this allowance account has a normal credit balance. So it has $2,000. We want it to be $3,210. So the question is, how much of an adjusting entry should we should make? So try to calculate that. And what we're going to see then, we're going to see $1,210. And how we get that is by taking the balance that's in there currently, the $3,210, and we're going to subtract what it already has, 2,000. So we need to recognize an additional allowance of 1,210. So just as an aside, this is not asked in this question, but as an aside, we would debit uncollectible account expense for $1,210 and we would credit the allowance account for the $1,210. So that's it on that one. Even though it's a lot of writing, it's not a bad problem to do. And then we do have one more. So, Big and Tall Corporation uses the percent of sales method to estimate uncollectibles. This is great. Percent of sales, you say, this is easy to do. Net credit sales for the current year amount to $5 million, and management estimates 2% will be uncollectible. It tells us the allowance for uncollectible accounts prior to adjustment has a credit balance of $16,000. The amount of expense reported on the income statement will be which of those? So, give it a minute. I'm going to give it a minute. Go ahead and try it, and then I'll walk through the answer. You might want to pause if you don't want to see the answer. Okay, now the answer is going to be the $100,000. How I do that is I take the $5 million credit sales times 2%. That gives me $100,000. It gave me extra information here. It told me the allowance for uncollectible accounts prior to adjustment has a credit balance of $16,000. That allowance balance is only relevant if you're using an aging method or aging of receivables method. It tells us in the very first sentence that we use the percent of sales method. The percent of sales method is the easiest method to use. We're going to take 2% times the credit sales. That's it. So that's it on this question, and I'm done with this quick little presentation. Have a nice weekend.